Deep within the winding corridors of ancient Crete, a legend was born, one that has haunted the human imagination for thousands of years. A creature, half man, half bull, lurking in the shadows of an inescapable labyrinth, waiting to devour those who dared to enter. This is the story of the Minotaur, a tale so vivid, so terrifying that it has echoed through the ages, inspiring art, literature, and even our deepest fears. But here's the question that lingers: was the Minotaur real, or was it simply a myth, a cautionary tale spun by ancient storytellers? Today, we're diving into the heart of this mystery, tracing the threads of history, mythology, and science to uncover the truth behind one of the most enduring legends of all time. From the ruins of ancient Crete to the cutting-edge discoveries of modern archaeology, we'll explore how this monstrous figure might have roots in reality and why it continues to captivate us to this day. So, are you ready to step into the labyrinth and unravel the secrets of the Minotaur? Let's begin. The story of the Minotaur begins in the heart of ancient Greece, where myths were more than just tales. They were a way to explain the world and its mysteries. According to legend, the Minotaur was born from a curse placed upon King Minos of Crete. When Minos refused to sacrifice a majestic white bull to the sea god Poseidon, the god retaliated by causing Minos' wife, Queen Pasiphae, to fall in love with the animal. From this unnatural union, the Minotaur was born, a monstrous creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. To hide this abomination, King Minos commissioned the brilliant inventor Daedalus to build a labyrinth so complex that no one could escape its twisting passages. The Minotaur was imprisoned within, and every 9 years, 7 young men and 7 young women from Athens were sent as tribute to be devoured by the beast. This gruesome cycle continued until the hero Theseus, armed with a sword and a ball of thread given to him by Minos' daughter Ariadne, ventured into the labyrinth, slew the Minotaur, and found his way back out. But the Minotaur is more than just a monster in a maze. It's a symbol, a representation of chaos, primal power, and the eternal struggle between civilization and savagery. The labyrinth itself mirrors the human mind, a place of confusion and fear where we confront our darkest impulses. Over the centuries, this myth has resonated deeply, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and even psychological theories. Carl Jung, for instance, saw the Minotaur as an archetype of the shadow self, the part of us we try to hide or suppress. Yet, as captivating as the myth is, it raises a tantalizing question. Could there be a grain of truth behind the legend? Could the Minotaur have been inspired by real events, people, or even ancient rituals? To answer that, we need to look beyond the myth and into the archaeological and historical evidence left behind by the ancient Minoan civilization of Crete. What secrets might their ruins hold, and could the labyrinth itself have been more than just a story? The labyrinth, a maze so intricate, so bewildering that it became the perfect prison for the Minotaur. In the myth, it was a place of no return, a twisting, turning nightmare designed to trap anyone who entered. But was this labyrinth purely a product of imagination, or could it have been inspired by something real? To answer that, we need to look at both the myth and the evidence left behind by one of the most fascinating civilizations of the ancient world, the Minoans of Crete. In the legend, the labyrinth was the brainchild of Daedalus, a master craftsman whose genius was matched only by his cunning. Its purpose was clear: to contain the Minotaur, a creature too dangerous to roam free. The labyrinth's design was said to be so complex that even its creator struggled to find his way out. This idea of an inescapable maze has captured imaginations for centuries, symbolizing not just physical confinement but also the tangled paths of fate and human struggle. But could such a structure have existed in reality? enter the Palace of Knossos, the heart of Minoan civilization and a site that has long been linked to the Labyrinth myth. Discovered in the early 20th century by British archaeologist Sir Arthur Evans, Knossos is a sprawling complex of interconnected rooms, corridors, and courtyards. Its layout is so intricate that some have speculated it could have inspired the idea of the labyrinth. The palace's multi-level design, with its winding passageways and sudden dead ends, might have seemed like a maze to those unfamiliar with its layout. Could this have been the real-life inspiration for the mythical labyrinth? Archaeological evidence from Knossos offers tantalizing clues. The palace was not just a royal residence, but also a center of administration, religion, and culture. Its walls were adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting bulls, a recurring motif in Minoan art. Bulls held a sacred place in Minoan society, often featured in rituals and ceremonies. Some scholars suggest that these bull-related practices might have been misinterpreted or exaggerated by later Greek storytellers, giving rise to the legend of the Minotaur. But the connection between Knossos and the labyrinth goes beyond architecture and art. The Minoans were known for their advanced engineering and sophisticated urban planning. Their cities were designed with a level of complexity that would have been awe-inspiring to outsiders. To the ancient Greeks who inherited and adapted Minoan myths, the idea of a labyrinth might have seemed like a natural extension of the Minoans' architectural prowess. So, was the labyrinth a real place? While we may never find a literal maze beneath the ruins of Knossos, it's possible that the myth was born from a blend of fact and fiction. The labyrinth could have been a symbolic representation of the Minoan world, a place of mystery, power, and danger. And as we delve deeper into the story of the Minotaur, we'll see how this ancient civilization's legacy might have shaped one of the most enduring myths of all time. Now let's turn our attention to the Minoans themselves. Who were they, and how did their culture give rise to such a haunting legend? The answers lie in the ruins they left behind, and the secrets those ruins still hold. The Minoan Civilization, flourishing on the island of Crete from roughly 2700 to 1450 BCE, was one of the most advanced and enigmatic cultures of the ancient world. Known for their vibrant art, sophisticated architecture, and complex societal structures, the Minoans left behind a legacy that continues to captivate historians and archaeologists alike. At the heart of this civilization stood the Palace of Knossos, a sprawling complex that served as the political, religious, and cultural hub of Minoan life. With its labyrinthine layout, grand courtyards, and intricate frescoes, Knossos wasn't just a palace, it was a symbol of Minoan ingenuity and power. What makes Knossos particularly fascinating is its potential connection to the labyrinth myth. The palace's maze-like design, with its winding corridors and interconnected rooms, could easily have inspired tales of an inescapable maze. To outsiders, especially the later Greeks who inherited Minoan stories, Knossos might have seemed like a place of mystery and danger, a real-life labyrinth. This architectural marvel wasn't just functional. It was a statement of the Minoans' mastery over their environment and their ability to create spaces that were both beautiful and bewildering. But the Minoans' relationship with bulls goes far beyond architecture. Bulls held a sacred place in their culture, appearing prominently in their art, rituals, and even their sports. Frescoes from Knossos and other Minoan sites depict scenes of bull leaping, a daring acrobatic feat where athletes vaulted over charging bulls. These images suggest that bulls were not just animals to the Minoans, they were symbols of strength, fertility, and divine power. Some scholars believe that these bull-related practices might have been misunderstood or exaggerated by later cultures, giving rise to the legend of the Minotaur. The Minotaur, with its bull-like features, could have been a symbolic representation of the Minoans' reverence for bulls. Perhaps the creature was a way to personify the raw, untamed power of these animals, or even a metaphor for the dangers of hubris and divine retribution. The myth of the Minotaur might also reflect the Minoan's complex relationship with the natural world, where bulls were both revered and feared. As we piece together the fragments of Minoan culture, it becomes clear that their world was one of contrasts, order and chaos, beauty and danger, civilization and primal force. The Palace of Knossos, with its labyrinthine design and the bull imagery that permeates their art, offer tantalizing clues about how the Minotaur legend might have taken root. But to fully understand the connection, we need to explore how these elements came together in the minds of those who first told the story. How did the Minoan's legacy shape the myths that followed? And what does the Minotaur tell us about the way ancient cultures made sense of their world? Next, we'll delve into the rituals and beliefs that might have given rise to this enduring legend, uncovering the deeper meanings behind the myth and its ties to the Minoan way of life. Bulls were far more than just animals to the Minoans. They were central to their culture, their art, and even their spirituality. If you've ever seen the famous Bull-Leaping Frescoes from Knossos, you'll understand just how deeply these creatures were woven into the fabric of Minoan life. These vivid paintings depict athletes performing breathtaking acrobatics over the backs of charging bulls, a feat that required not only incredible skill but also immense courage. But why were bulls so important? What made them more than just a symbol of physical strength? For the Minoans, bulls represented a powerful connection to the divine. They were seen as embodiments of fertility, vitality, and the raw forces of nature. In a society that relied heavily on agriculture, the bull's strength and virility were likely associated with the prosperity of the land and its people. This reverence is evident in the way bulls appear in Minoan art. Always larger than life, their muscular forms captured in dynamic poses that convey both power and grace. But it wasn't just about admiration. Bulls played a key role in Minoan rituals as well. Some scholars believe that bull-related ceremonies were a cornerstone of Minoan religious practice. These rituals might have involved sacrifices, processions, or even symbolic reenactments of the bull's power. The bull-leaping frescoes, for instance, could depict not just a sport but a sacred act, a way for participants to commune with the divine or prove their worthiness. Over time, these practices might have been misunderstood or exaggerated by outsiders, especially the ancient Greeks who inherited and adapted Minoan stories. Could the Minotaur myth have grown out of these accounts? Could the creature's bull-like features and its connection to the labyrinth be a distorted reflection of Minoan bull worship? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it might seem. Myths often arise from a kernel of truth, and in this case, the Minotaur could symbolize the darker side of the Minoan's relationship with bulls. Perhaps the creature represents the dangers of hubris, of trying to harness or control forces that are ultimately beyond human understanding. Or maybe it's a metaphor for the tension between civilization and primal nature, a theme that resonates deeply in many ancient myths. What's clear is that the Minoans' reverence for bulls left an indelible mark on their culture and on the stories that followed. The Minotaur, with its terrifying blend of human and animal traits, might have been a way to personify the awe and fear that bulls inspired. But to truly understand this connection, we need to explore how these ideas evolved over time and how they were shaped by the cultures that came after the Minoans. So, what happens when a powerful symbol like the bull is reinterpreted by a different society? How do myths transform as they pass from one generation to the next? These are the questions we'll tackle as we continue our journey into the heart of the Minotaur legend. The Minotaur's physical form, half human, half bull, is one of the most striking and unsettling aspects of the myth. But where did this image come from? Was it purely a product of imagination, or could it have been inspired by something real? To answer this, we need to look at how ancient cultures depicted hybrid creatures and how these depictions might have been shaped by their experiences and beliefs. Hybrid beings are a common theme in mythology across the world. From the Sphinx of Egypt to the centaurs of Greece, these creatures often embody the blending of human and animal traits, symbolizing the intersection of the natural and supernatural worlds. For the ancient Greeks, such hybrids were a way to explore the boundaries between humanity and the divine, or between civilization and the wild. The Minotaur, with its bull-like head and human body, fits neatly into this tradition. But could there be a more practical explanation for its form? One intriguing possibility is that the Minotaur's appearance was inspired by real-life rituals or performances. In many ancient cultures, masks and costumes were used to transform individuals into gods, spirits, or mythical beings during ceremonies. The Minoans, with their deep reverence for bulls, might have used bull masks or headdresses in their rituals, creating a visual representation of the animal's power. To an outsider, someone wearing such a mask could easily have been mistaken for a creature that was part human, part bull. Over time, this image might have been exaggerated and mythologized, evolving into the terrifying figure of the Minotaur. Archaeological evidence supports this idea. Bull masks and horns have been found at Minoan sites, suggesting that these items played a role in their religious practices. Frescoes and figurines also depict individuals wearing bull-like headdresses, further reinforcing the connection between humans and bulls in Minoan culture. If these rituals were witnessed by outsiders, it's easy to see how they could have been misinterpreted or embellished, giving rise to the legend of a monstrous hybrid. But the Minotaur's form might also have a symbolic meaning. In many myths, hybrid creatures represent the struggle between opposing forces, order and chaos, reason and instinct, civilization and nature. The Minotaur, trapped in the labyrinth, could symbolize the darker, untamed aspects of the human psyche, the parts of ourselves we try to suppress or control. The labyrinth itself, with its twisting passages, mirrors the complexity of the human mind, a place where we confront our deepest fears and desires. As myths are passed down through generations, they often change, adapting to the values and concerns of the societies that tell them. The Minotaur's story is no exception. What began as a tale rooted in Minoan culture and rituals might have been reshaped by later Greek storytellers, who added their own interpretations and embellishments. This process of myth-making is a fascinating reminder of how stories evolve, reflecting the hopes, fears, and beliefs of the people who tell them. So, was the Minotaur a literal creature, or was it a symbolic figure born from ritual and imagination? The answer likely lies somewhere in between. The Minotaur's form might have been inspired by real practices, but its enduring power comes from the deeper meanings it holds, meanings that continue to resonate with us today. As we explore the next chapter of this story, we'll see how ancient myths like this one were shaped by the cultures that created them, and how they continue to shape us in return. Now, let's turn our attention to the role of storytelling in ancient societies, and how myths like the Minotaurs were used to make sense of the world. What can these stories tell us about the people who told them, and about ourselves? Storytelling was the lifeblood of ancient societies, a way to preserve history, teach lessons, and make sense of the world. Long before the written word, myths like the Minotaurs were passed down orally from one generation to the next. These stories weren't just entertainment, they were a living record of a culture's beliefs, fears, and values. But as tales traveled through time and across regions, they often changed, growing richer and more elaborate with each retelling. The Minotaur legend is a perfect example of this process. What might have started as a simple story about a powerful bull or a labyrinthine palace could have been transformed into a fantastical tale of a monstrous hybrid and an inescapable maze. The oral tradition of storytelling allowed for a great deal of creativity, each storyteller added their own flair, emphasizing certain details or introducing new elements to captivate their audience. Over time, these embellishments could turn a straightforward account into something far more dramatic. Imagine a Minoan ritual involving bull masks and acrobatics. To an outsider, this might have seemed strange, even terrifying. As the story spread, it could have been exaggerated, blending fact with fiction until the Minotaur emerged as a symbol of primal fear and chaos. But why did these stories endure? Myths like the Minotaur served a vital purpose. They helped ancient societies explain the unexplainable, whether it was the power of nature, the origins of their customs, or the consequences of defying the gods. The Minotaur, for instance, might have been a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris or the consequences of angering the divine. By embedding these lessons in vivid, memorable stories, ancient cultures ensured that their values and wisdom were passed down through the ages. Today, we have tools that the ancients could only dream of: archaeology, science, and historical analysis to help us separate fact from fiction. By studying the ruins of Knossos, analyzing Minoan art, and comparing myths from different cultures, we can piece together how stories like the Minotaurs evolved. These methods allow us to see the kernels of truth that might have inspired the legend, while also appreciating the creativity and imagination that turned them into enduring myths. As we continue to explore the Minotaur's story, we'll see how modern research sheds light on the ancient world, revealing the complex interplay between history and myth. What other secrets might these ancient tales hold, and how can they help us better understand the people who told them and ourselves? The ruins of Knossos are more than just an archaeological site. They're a window into the world of the Minoans, offering tantalizing clues about the origins of the Minotaur legend. When Sir Arthur Evans first uncovered the palace in the early 20th century, he was struck by its sheer complexity. The sprawling network of rooms, corridors, and courtyards seemed almost maze-like, leading some to speculate that this was the real-life inspiration for the Labyrinth. But the connections between Knossos and the Minotaur myth go even deeper, hidden in the artifacts and artwork left behind by this ancient civilization. Among the most striking discoveries at Knossos are the bull-related frescoes and artifacts. These vivid paintings depict scenes of bull leaping, a daring ritual where athletes vaulted over charging bulls. The figures are dynamic, full of energy, and they suggest that bulls held a sacred place in Minoan culture. But it's not just the art that tells this story. Archaeologists have also uncovered bull-shaped Rhyton ceremonial vessels used for pouring liquids, and even bull masks which may have been worn during religious ceremonies. These findings paint a picture of a society deeply connected to the symbolism of the bull, a creature that represented strength, fertility, and perhaps even divine power. Then there's the palace itself. With its multi-level design, winding passageways, and sudden dead ends, Knossos could easily have been described as a labyrinth by those unfamiliar with its layout. The palace wasn't just a residence, it was a center of political, religious, and cultural life, a place where the boundaries between the human and the divine seemed to blur. To the ancient Greeks who inherited and adapted Minoan stories, Knossos might have seemed like a place of mystery and danger, a real-life labyrinth that inspired tales of an inescapable maze. But does this mean the labyrinth was a literal structure, or was it something more symbolic? Some scholars argue that the labyrinth could have been a metaphor for the complexity of Minoan society itself, a world of interconnected rituals, hierarchies, and beliefs that would have seemed bewildering to outsiders. The palace's layout, with its intricate design and hidden spaces, might have been a physical representation of this complexity, a place where the boundaries between order and chaos were constantly shifting. So, what does all of this tell us about the Minotaur? Could the creature have been a symbolic figure, born from the Minoans' reverence for bulls and their labyrinthine world? Or is there a chance that the Minotaur was based on something more tangible, a ritual, a performance, or even a misunderstood aspect of Minoan culture? The archaeological evidence from Knossos offers intriguing possibilities, but it also raises new questions. How much of the Minotaur legend is rooted in fact, and how much is the product of myth-making and imagination? As we piece together the fragments of the past, one thing becomes clear. The story of the Minotaur is as much about the people who told it as it is about the creature itself. The Minoans left behind a legacy of art, architecture, and ritual that continues to captivate us, offering glimpses into a world where myth and reality were deeply intertwined. And as we explore these connections, we're reminded that the line between history and legend is often more blurred than we think. Next, we'll delve into the theories that attempt to bridge the gap between myth and reality, examining how modern scholars interpret the Minotaur story in light of the evidence from Knossos and beyond. What new insights might these theories reveal about one of history's most enduring legends? One of the most iconic images to emerge from the ruins of Knossos is the Bull-Leaping Fresco, a vivid, dynamic depiction of athletes vaulting over the backs of charging bulls. This artwork, with its swirling motion and bold colors, captures a moment of both danger and grace, offering a glimpse into a practice that was central to Minoan culture. But what exactly was bull leaping? Was it a sport, a ritual, or something else entirely? And could this ancient practice hold the key to understanding the origins of the Minotaur myth? Bull leaping, as depicted in the fresco, was no ordinary feat. It required immense skill, agility, and courage. The athletes, often shown in mid-air, would grasp the bull's horns and somersault over its back, landing gracefully on their feet behind the animal. This wasn't just a test of physical ability, it was a display of bravery and precision, a way to demonstrate mastery over one of the most powerful creatures in the natural world. For the Minoans, bulls were sacred, embodying strength, fertility, and divine energy. By engaging in bull leaping, these athletes may have been participating in a ritual that honored the gods or celebrated the connection between humans and the natural world. But bull leaping wasn't just about physical prowess, it also carried deep cultural and symbolic meaning. In a society where bulls were revered, the act of leaping over one could have been seen as a way to harness or even transcend the animal's power. Some scholars suggest that bull leaping was a rite of passage, a way for young men to prove their worth and transition into adulthood. Others believe it was part of religious ceremonies meant to invoke the favor of the gods or ensure the fertility of the land. Whatever its purpose, bull leaping was clearly more than just a sport. It was a practice that resonated deeply within Minoan society. This brings us to the Minotaur. Could the legend of the half-man, half-bull creature have been inspired by bull leaping? One intriguing theory is that the Minotaur's form was a symbolic representation of the athletes themselves. Imagine a bull leaper wearing a bull mask or headdress during a ritual. To an outsider, this figure might have appeared as a hybrid being part human, part bull. Over time, this image could have been exaggerated and mythologized, evolving into the terrifying figure of the Minotaur. Alternatively, the Minotaur might have symbolized the dangers of bull leaping, a reminder of the fine line between triumph and tragedy when facing such a powerful animal. The Bull-Leaping Fresco, then, isn't just a beautiful piece of art, it's a window into the beliefs and practices that may have shaped the Minotaur myth. It shows us a culture that revered bulls, celebrated human skill and courage, and found meaning in the interplay between the natural and supernatural worlds. By examining this fresco, we can begin to see how the Minotaur's story might have grown out of real-life rituals and performances, blending fact and fiction in a way that continues to captivate us today. But bull leaping wasn't unique to the Minoans. Similar practices have been found in other ancient cultures from Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley. This raises an interesting question. Why did so many societies engage in bull-related rituals? The answer likely lies in the bull's universal symbolism as a creature of power, fertility, and vitality. Across cultures, bulls were seen as a bridge between the human and divine realms, a way to connect with the forces that shape the world. In this light, bull leaping becomes more than just a Minoan tradition. It's part of a broader human fascination with these majestic animals. As we explore the role of bull leaping in Minoan culture, we're reminded of the ways in which ancient sports and rituals shaped the myths that followed. These practices weren't just physical or spiritual exercises, they were stories in motion, performances that carried deep meaning and inspired the tales we still tell today. The Minotaur, with its blend of human and bull traits, might be one of the most enduring examples of this process, a myth born from the interplay of culture, ritual, and imagination. Next, we'll turn our attention to the broader world of ancient sports and their role in shaping myths. How did these physical contests reflect the values and beliefs of the societies that created them? And what can they tell us about the stories that have endured for thousands of years? Ancient sports were far more than just entertainment. They were a reflection of a society's values, beliefs, and even its fears. In Crete, the Minoans elevated physical contests to a level that blurred the line between sport and ritual. Bull leaping, as we've seen, was a prime example of this. It wasn't just a test of strength and agility. It was a performance that carried deep symbolic meaning, a way to honor the gods and connect with the natural world. But could these athletic feats have been the seeds from which myths like the Minotaurs grew? Consider this. In a world without modern media, sports and physical contests were some of the most dramatic and memorable events in a community's life. The feats of athletes, whether they were leaping over bulls, wrestling, or racing, would have been the stuff of legends, retold and embellished over time. A particularly daring bull leaper, for instance, might have been remembered not just as a skilled athlete, but as a hero who tamed the wild power of the bull. Over generations, such stories could have transformed into tales of mythical proportions, with the athlete becoming a half-human, half-bull creature like the Minotaur. This process of myth-making isn't unique to Crete. Across the ancient world, we see similar patterns. In Greek mythology, the hero Heracles, known for his incredible strength, was said to have performed 12 labors, many of which involved overcoming monstrous creatures. These stories might have been inspired by real-life feats of strength or endurance, exaggerated over time into supernatural achievements. Similarly, the Amazons, a tribe of warrior women, could have been based on skilled female fighters whose prowess was mythologized into tales of an entire society of warrior women. The Minotaur, then, might fit into this broader tradition of transforming real-life athletes or warriors into legendary figures. Its bull-like form could symbolize the raw power and danger of the bull-leaping ritual, while its imprisonment in the labyrinth might represent the tension between human skill and the untamed forces of nature. In this way, the Minotaur becomes more than just a monster. It becomes a metaphor for the challenges and triumphs of the human spirit. But myths like the Minotaurs weren't just about celebrating physical prowess. They also served as cautionary tales, teaching moral and cultural lessons. The Minotaur's story, for instance, might have been a warning about the dangers of hubris, of trying to control or dominate forces that are ultimately beyond human understanding. The labyrinth, with its inescapable twists and turns, could symbolize the consequences of arrogance or the futility of trying to outwit fate. As we explore these connections between ancient sports and mythology, we're reminded of the power of storytelling. Whether through athletic feats or legendary tales, ancient societies found ways to express their deepest values and fears. The Minotaur, with its blend of human and animal traits, is a testament to this process, a myth that continues to captivate us, not just for its horror, but for the truths it reveals about the human experience. Next, we'll delve into the moral and cultural lessons embedded in the Minotaur legend, exploring how this ancient story might have been used to teach and inspire. What can we learn from the Labyrinth, the Minotaur, and the hero who dared to face them? The Minotaur is more than just a monster. It's a mirror reflecting the deepest fears, desires, and moral struggles of humanity. At its core, the myth is a cautionary tale, a story that warns us about the dangers of hubris and the consequences of defying the gods. King Minos, after all, brought the curse of the Minotaur upon himself by refusing to honor Poseidon's demand. His pride and arrogance set the stage for tragedy, reminding us that even the most powerful are not immune to the whims of the divine. The Minotaur, born from this act of defiance, becomes a living symbol of the chaos that follows when humans overstep their bounds. But the Minotaur's story isn't just about punishment, it's also about the Labyrinth, a place that represents the complexities of the human mind. Just as Theseus navigated the maze to confront the Minotaur, we too must navigate the twists and turns of our own inner worlds. The Labyrinth is a metaphor for life's challenges, a place where we face our fears, confront our darkest impulses, and search for meaning in the chaos. It's a reminder that the path to self-discovery is rarely straightforward, and that the journey itself is as important as the destination. The Minotaur, trapped within the Labyrinth, embodies the darker aspects of the human psyche, the parts of ourselves we try to hide or suppress. It's a symbol of the primal, untamed forces that lurk within us all, waiting to be confronted. In this sense, the myth becomes a story about self-mastery, about the courage it takes to face our inner demons and emerge stronger on the other side. Theseus, armed with nothing but a sword and a ball of thread, represents the human capacity for resilience and ingenuity, showing us that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome with determination and clarity of purpose. Over the centuries, the Minotaur legend has been reinterpreted in countless ways, each reflecting the values and concerns of the time. In the modern era, the myth has taken on new layers of meaning, often serving as a commentary on power, oppression, and the human condition. For some, the Minotaur represents the marginalized or the monstrous other, a figure that society fears and rejects. For others, it's a symbol of the destructive forces unleashed by unchecked ambition or greed. The Labyrinth, too, has been reimagined as a metaphor for the complexities of modern life, the maze of technology, or even the tangled web of global politics. What makes the Minotaur story so enduring is its universality. It speaks to something fundamental about the human experience, the struggle to find meaning in a chaotic world, the tension between our civilized selves and our primal instincts, and the consequences of our choices. Whether we see the Minotaur as a monster, a metaphor, or a cautionary tale, its legend continues to resonate, reminding us of the timeless truths embedded in ancient myths. As we move forward, we'll explore how the Minotaur's story has been adapted and reimagined in art, literature, and popular culture. From ancient frescoes to modern novels, the Minotaur has inspired countless interpretations, each adding new dimensions to this ancient tale. What do these modern retellings reveal about our own fears, desires, and moral struggles? And how does the Minotaur's legend continue to shape our understanding of ourselves and the world around us? Let's find out. The Minotaur's story has transcended its ancient roots, evolving into a powerful symbol that continues to inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers. In modern literature, the Minotaur often appears as a tragic figure, a misunderstood creature trapped not just in a labyrinth but in its own identity. Take, for example, Jorge Luis Borges' short story, The House of Asterion, which reimagines the Minotaur as a lonely, introspective being, yearning for connection and understanding. This shift from monster to victim reflects a broader trend in contemporary storytelling, one that seeks to humanize the other and challenge traditional notions of good and evil. In film, the Minotaur has been reimagined in countless ways, from terrifying antagonists to complex antiheroes. Movies like Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief and Immortals bring the creature to life with stunning visuals, blending ancient mythology with modern special effects. But beyond the spectacle, these adaptations often use the Minotaur as a metaphor for deeper themes, whether it's the struggle for identity, the clash between civilization and nature, or the consequences of unchecked power. The Labyrinth, too, has found new life on screen, symbolizing everything from psychological turmoil to the complexities of modern society. Artists have also been drawn to the Minotaur's duality, using its hybrid form to explore themes of transformation and alienation. Pablo Picasso, for instance, frequently incorporated the Minotaur into his work, portraying it as both a symbol of primal energy and a reflection of his own inner struggles. In these pieces, the Minotaur becomes a mirror for the human condition, embodying the tension between our animal instincts and our rational minds. Contemporary artists continue this tradition, reinterpreting the myth through diverse mediums, from sculpture to digital art, each adding their own unique perspective to the ancient tale. What makes the Minotaur so enduringly relevant is its ability to adapt to the concerns of each generation. In today's world, the myth resonates as a commentary on societal issues like marginalization, mental health, and the search for identity. The Labyrinth, with its twisting paths and dead ends, mirrors the complexities of modern life, while the Minotaur itself can symbolize the parts of ourselves or our society that we fear or reject. By reimagining the Minotaur as a tragic figure or a metaphor for contemporary struggles, modern storytellers keep the myth alive, ensuring it remains a source of fascination and reflection. But as much as the Minotaur captivates our imagination, it also raises a question: could such a creature have existed in reality? While the myth is undoubtedly rich in symbolism, some have wondered if it might have been inspired by real events or phenomena. Could the Minotaur have been a distorted memory of an ancient ritual, a misunderstood genetic anomaly, or even a symbolic representation of a historical figure? To explore this possibility, we'll turn to the scientific perspective, examining how modern research might shed light on the origins of this legendary creature. From the depths of ancient mythology to the cutting edge of contemporary science, the Minotaur's story continues to evolve, offering new insights and interpretations with each retelling. Whether as a monster, a metaphor, or a mystery, the Minotaur remains a powerful reminder of the enduring power of myth and the timeless questions it seeks to answer. Could the Minotaur have been more than just a myth? Could there be a scientific explanation for the existence of a half-human, half-bull creature? To explore this, we need to step into the realm of biology and genetics, examining whether such a hybrid could exist, and how ancient societies might have interpreted unusual phenomena to create the legend we know today. From a biological standpoint, the idea of a creature like the Minotaur is, of course, impossible. Humans and bulls belong to entirely different species, separated by millions of years of evolution. Their genetic makeup is so distinct that the creation of a hybrid would require a level of genetic engineering far beyond even modern science. But while the Minotaur, as described in myth, is biologically implausible, it's worth considering whether ancient people might have encountered something that inspired the idea of a half-human, half-bull being. One possibility is that the Minotaur's form was inspired by rare genetic conditions or birth defects. In the ancient world, where medical knowledge was limited, a child born with unusual physical traits might have been seen as something otherworldly. Conditions like hypertrichosis, which causes excessive hair growth, or craniofacial abnormalities could have been misinterpreted as signs of a hybrid nature. Imagine a child born with a prominent brow ridge or a facial structure that resembled a bull's. Such a person might have been viewed as a living embodiment of the divine or the monstrous, giving rise to stories of creatures like the Minotaur. Another angle to consider is the role of ancient rituals and costumes. As we've seen, the Minoans held bulls in high regard, often incorporating them into their religious practices. It's possible that individuals wearing bull masks or headdresses during ceremonies could have been mistaken for part human, part bull beings. Over time, these ritualistic performances might have been exaggerated into tales of a monstrous hybrid. The line between reality and myth was often blurred in the ancient world, and what began as a symbolic representation could easily have been transformed into a literal creature in the minds of storytellers. But the Minotaur's story isn't just about biology, it's also about how ancient societies understood the natural world. Without the tools of modern science, people relied on myths to explain phenomena they couldn't otherwise understand. A child born with a rare condition, a ritual involving bull imagery, or even the discovery of ancient animal bones could have been woven into a narrative that made sense within their cultural framework. The Minotaur, with its terrifying blend of human and animal traits, might have been a way to make sense of the unknown, a symbol of the mysterious and the uncontrollable. This blending of myth and science isn't unique to the Minotaur. Across cultures, we see stories of hybrid creatures, centaurs, mermaids, sphinxes, that reflect humanity's attempts to grapple with the boundaries between the natural and the supernatural. These myths often serve as metaphors for the complexities of life, embodying the tension between order and chaos, civilization and nature, or the known and the unknown. The Minotaur, trapped in its labyrinth, is a powerful example of this, a reminder of how myths can give shape to our deepest fears and questions. As we reflect on the science behind the myth, it's clear that the Minotaur's story is as much about human imagination as it is about biology. While the creature itself may not have existed, the ideas it represents, our fascination with the boundaries of nature, our attempts to explain the unexplainable, and our enduring struggle to understand ourselves are very real. And in that sense, the Minotaur continues to live on, not as a literal being, but as a symbol of the timeless interplay between myth and reality. Next, we'll explore how the Minotaur's legend has been shaped by the cultures that told it, tracing its evolution from ancient Crete to the modern world. How has this myth changed over time, and what does it reveal about the societies that kept it alive? Let's find out. The Minotaur legend, like many myths, exists at the fascinating intersection of storytelling and science. While it may seem like a fantastical tale, it raises questions that have inspired curiosity and exploration for centuries. Myths often serve as a bridge between the unknown and the knowable, sparking scientific inquiry as we seek to uncover the truths behind the stories. For instance, the myth of the Minotaur has led researchers to examine everything from ancient Minoan rituals to genetic anomalies, showing how even the most fantastical tales can prompt real-world investigation. Take the story of the Cyclops, another creature from Greek mythology. For years, the idea of a one-eyed giant seemed purely fictional, until scientists discovered the fossilized remains of dwarf elephants. These ancient creatures had a large central nasal cavity in their skulls, which could easily have been mistaken for a single eye socket by early humans. This discovery not only debunked the myth, but also revealed how ancient people might have interpreted the natural world around them. Similarly, the Minotaur's legend could have roots in real-life phenomena, whether it's the misinterpretation of bull-related rituals or the discovery of unusual skeletal remains. But myths aren't just puzzles to be solved, they're also cultural treasures that offer insight into the values, fears, and beliefs of the societies that created them. The Minotaur, for example, reflects the Minoans' reverence for bulls and their complex relationship with the natural world. By preserving these stories, we preserve a piece of human history, a window into how our ancestors made sense of their surroundings. At the same time, exploring the scientific origins of myths doesn't diminish their power. It enriches our understanding of both the stories and the people who told them. This balance between myth and science is crucial. On one hand, myths inspire us to ask questions, to explore the unknown, and to push the boundaries of what we think is possible. On the other hand, science helps us separate fact from fiction, grounding these stories in the realities of the natural world. Together, they create a dynamic interplay that keeps us curious, engaged, and constantly learning. As we've seen throughout this exploration, the Minotaur's story is more than just a tale of a monster in a maze. It's a reflection of ancient rituals, a metaphor for the human psyche, and a reminder of the power of storytelling. From the ruins of Knossos to the frescoes of Bull-Leaping, from the labyrinth symbolism to the scientific possibilities behind the myth, the Minotaur continues to captivate us, offering new insights with each retelling. So, what have we learned? The Minotaur's legend is a testament to the enduring power of myth, a story that has evolved over millennia, adapting to the concerns and curiosities of each generation. Whether as a cautionary tale, a cultural symbol, or a scientific mystery, the Minotaur reminds us that the line between myth and reality is often more blurred than we think. And as we continue to explore these ancient stories, we're not just uncovering the past, we're also discovering new ways to understand ourselves and the world around us. Now, as we wrap up this journey, let's reflect on the broader lessons the Minotaur's story teaches us about the power of myth, the importance of curiosity, and the timeless quest to make sense of the unknown. What other secrets might these ancient tales hold, and how can they continue to inspire us in the modern world? Let's take a moment to consider these questions as we bring our exploration to a close. So, after exploring the labyrinth of history, myth, and science, where does that leave us with the Minotaur? Was this half-man, half-bull creature a real being, or purely a product of ancient imagination? Let's weigh the evidence. On one hand, the archaeological discoveries at Knossos, the sprawling palace, the bull-leaping frescoes, and the bull-shaped artifacts suggest that the Minoans held bulls in high regard, incorporating them into their rituals and daily life. These findings hint at a cultural foundation for the Minotaur myth, where the reverence for bulls might have been exaggerated or misunderstood by later storytellers. The labyrinthine design of Knossos itself could have inspired the idea of an inescapable maze, blending fact with fiction to create a tale that resonated across generations. On the other hand, the biological impossibility of a human-bull hybrid makes it clear that the Minotaur, as described in myth, couldn't have existed in reality. Yet, this doesn't mean the legend is without roots. Ancient societies often used myths to explain phenomena they couldn't understand, whether it was a child born with a rare condition, a misunderstood ritual, or even the discovery of unusual animal remains. The Minotaur's form might have been a symbolic representation of these mysteries, a way to make sense of the unknown through storytelling. What's fascinating is how the Minotaur myth serves as a bridge between the tangible and the intangible. It's not just about whether the creature was real, it's about what the story reveals about the people who told it. The Minoans, with their advanced culture and deep connection to bulls, left behind a legacy that continues to intrigue us. Their rituals, art, and architecture offer glimpses into a world where myth and reality were deeply intertwined, where the boundaries between the human and the divine were fluid and ever-shifting. The Minotaur, then, is more than just a monster in a maze. It's a reflection of ancient fears, values, and beliefs, a symbol of the tension between civilization and chaos, order and disorder. Whether as a cautionary tale, a metaphor for the human psyche, or a cultural artifact, the myth endures because it speaks to something universal about the human experience. It reminds us that myths aren't just stories, they're windows into the minds and hearts of the people who created them. As we prepare to draw this exploration to a close, let's reflect on what the Minotaur story teaches us about the power of myth. It's not just about the creature itself, but about the ways in which ancient cultures used stories to make sense of their world, and how those stories continue to shape ours. So, what's the final verdict? Was the Minotaur real? The answer, like the Labyrinth, is complex, but perhaps that's what makes the legend so enduring. It invites us to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep finding meaning in the mysteries of the past. Now, let's step out of the labyrinth and into the final chapter of this journey, where we'll bring together all the threads of this ancient tale and uncover what it means for us today. As we step out of the labyrinth and into the light, the Minotaur story leaves us with more questions than answers, and perhaps that's the point. Myths like this one aren't meant to be solved like puzzles. They're meant to be explored, to spark curiosity, and to remind us of the complexities of the human experience. The Minotaur, with its haunting blend of human and animal traits, isn't just a monster from an ancient tale. It's a mirror reflecting the fears, values, and mysteries of the people who first told its story. What makes the Minotaur so enduring isn't just its terrifying image or the drama of the labyrinth. It's the way this myth captures something universal about the human condition. It's a story about confronting the unknown, about the tension between order and chaos, and about the consequences of our choices. Whether we see the Minotaur as a literal creature, a symbolic figure, or a cautionary tale, its legend continues to resonate because it speaks to truths that transcend time and culture. But the Minotaur's story also reminds us of the power of myths to shape our understanding of the world. Long before science and history gave us tools to explain the natural world, myths were the way ancient societies made sense of their surroundings. They were stories that explained the unexplainable, that taught moral lessons, and that connected people to something greater than themselves. The Minotaur, with its roots in Minoan rituals and its evolution through Greek mythology, is a perfect example of how these stories can evolve, adapt, and endure. And that raises an intriguing question: what other ancient legends might have roots in reality? Could the Cyclops have been inspired by the discovery of ancient elephant skulls? Might the tales of mermaids have grown from sailors' encounters with manatees or dugongs? The line between myth and reality is often blurrier than we think, and exploring these connections can reveal fascinating insights into how our ancestors saw the world and how we see it today. So, as we close this chapter on the Minotaur, let's not think of it as a story that's been solved or put to rest. Instead, let's see it as an invitation to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep finding meaning in the mysteries of the past. After all, the labyrinth isn't just a place of confusion and fear. It's also a place of discovery where every twist and turn can lead to new understanding. What do you think? Could the Minotaur have been inspired by real events or rituals? Are there other ancient myths you've wondered about? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas. And if you enjoyed this journey into the heart of one of history's most enduring legends, don't forget to subscribe and join me as we unravel more mysteries from the past. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, sometimes the most fascinating stories are the ones that leave us wondering.